Welcome to the World of Warcraft Survival Guide for Tides of Vengeance, Battle for Azeroth's first major content update.
It's a trap!
I am Raziel.
What is up, guys? Raziel here with another video for you, and today I decided to kind of cap off an epilogue, if you will, to my Final Fantasy XIV versus World of Warcraft series, because I've seen an awful lot of World of Warcraft, or I should say ex-World of Warcraft players in Final Fantasy XIV lately. So I thought I'd whip up a quick video, and these are the top 10 things you should be aware of or know if you are a Battle for Azeroth refugee in Final Fantasy XIV. Number 1, first and foremost, you should congratulate yourself. Congratulations, you're no longer in an abusive relationship. Unlike the, abused spouse who kept going back to their abuser thinking somehow this time things would be different, despite all their relatives and friends, shaking their heads and telling them that they're stupid for going back. You have finally left the abusive relationship you are in with Activision Blizzard and are venturing out into new MMO relationships. And what better MMO to get into than one that's actually growing right now instead of losing its player base hand over fist. So congratulations, you are now free to start enjoying yourself again. It's like they say, your bachelor party lasts one night, but your divorce party, now that lasts the rest of your fucking life.
You're goddamn right.
Alright, now first major point number 1, don't worry about alts. There's really no need to have an alt unless you want to play multiple races in Final Fantasy XIV. There's no racials in this game, so your race is purely cosmetic, which is how we wish it was in real life, but unfortunately that's not the case.
That's really fucked up.
Anyway, every class or job can be leveled and switched between on a single character. So, no need to make alts. In addition, once you've reached level cap on a single job, you'll notice me say the word job a lot. That's what we call classes in Final Fantasy XIV. So when I say job, I mean class. All of your alternate jobs level up twice as quickly and have alternate routes for reaching level cap, such as Deep Dungeon, Heaven on High, side quests, Beach Tribe quests. I have many videos about these kinds of things, so look into that. Alright, the next thing, speaking of jobs and classes progress as they level. Yeah, I know, a huge feature long lost in WoW. Your probably mind's melting right now with logic. Remember back in Vanilla and Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King when you felt stronger after each level because you got to spend a talent point where you wanted to? Well, that feeling still exists in Final Fantasy XIV. As I've stated in many videos, the jobs and classes in Final Fantasy XIV feel really slow and clunky at the start because, let's face it, you're a wide-eyed, baby-back bitch of a noob at the beginning of the game.
You fucking suck.
As you should be. I mean, you can't walk around and three-shot enemies your level and pull large packs of mobs with no real threat of death right out of the gate. As you level up, though, you actually become stronger, with more abilities being unlocked that are off the global cooldown, thus increasing the pace of combat and making your rotation more complex. If you start Final Fantasy XIV expecting World of Warcraft paced combat right out of the gate, not only are you going to be disappointed, but you're going to be exposed as a millennial snowflake that doesn't understand that power increase is an upward curve and something to be chased and not a straight line, or in WoW's case, a downward curve. I mean, you're weaker at 120 than 110? What the fuck? I'd say before you judge any class or the combat in Final Fantasy XIV, and you need to hit some major milestones. The first, in my opinion, is level 50. At level 50, 60, and 70, your class really starts to come together, and the longer global cooldown of Final Fantasy XIV pretty much becomes unnoticeable. Next point, be ready for a game that actually has a good story. Yeah, again, go figure. Final Fantasy games have always had outstanding stories in the majority of cases. My personal favorite being Final Fantasy Tactics, which was released on the Sony PlayStation back in like 1996, but I digress, it doesn't matter. The best part about Final Fantasy XIV is you can level your first job to level cap mostly just doing the main story, the main scenario questline. You may have to do a handful of dungeon runs and a couple side missions post level 60, But my advice is, if you're starting out the game, sit back, relax, don't rush, and enjoy the fucking storyline. It's amazing. And what's more, if you're a lore buff, you don't need to go out and buy a book to get context of what's going on in the game, because the current storyline is akin to a Benny Hill script. Next up, we've got crafting. Crafting is not only treated with respect in this game, but it has a huge purpose in the endgame. Unlike World of Warcraft, where professions aren't even akin to a useful side time sink anymore, the crafting classes in Final Fantasy XIV are referred to as Disciples of the Land and Disciples of the Hand, respectively, are jobs themselves, with full class rotations and leveling systems, and they provide some of the best looking and useful items and gear in the game, because of the ability to overmeld crafted gear, that's socketing gems for you refugees, and in some cases make the crafting pieces best in slot, even better than some of the top-end raiding gear at certain points during an expansion. Also, crafting is the biggest single moneymaker in the game. Next point, say goodbye to abusive and overabundant RNG.
Whoa!
Oh, gee.
I can't believe it. I've lost $300 in 15 minutes?
I mean, just relax. Take it all in. There's no more Titan Forged or War Forged bullshit here. I mean, to add an artificial stretch of the current content that's available in the game. Sure, it's an MMO, and sure, there's still going to be some drop in spawn rates and other things like that are subject to RNG. But you can actually get gear and things you want in the end game in a more guaranteed fashion. If you're raiding top-end content, or hell, even normal mode content, and RNG just isn't working out for you, and you aren't getting the drops you want, you are still earning tomes and tokens that allow you to purchase the gear that you really want from the vendor from the main hub of the current expansion. So you're guaranteed eventually to get the gear you want. You're no longer a complete fucking slave to the whims of RNGesus, as your slog to get best in slot starts to feel like a job, and not a game for you to have fun in.
What can I do with $5?
Gee, I don't know. Buy a bullet and rent a gun?
Which leads me to one of my next big points. End game or max level content in this game has more available to do than just log in for your weekly reset and log out, not to touch it again till your next raid night, like you do in World of Warcraft and have been doing in World of Warcraft since God knows how long. Final Fantasy XIV has 8-man primary raids with normal and savage difficulties, the latter providing the best rewards in the game. 8-man primal raids with a normal and extreme difficulty. 24-man raids with their own unique storylines that are really fucking fantastic. See, Return to Evil East, the one that's going on now in the latest expansion of Final Fantasy XIV, is so far, by far, been my favorite because, again, it's based in Final Fantasy Tactics lore, which is awesome. There's a new zone, which was never done in any of the versions of Final Fantasy XIV at this point, called the Eureka, which, as of this video, has 3 zones, and they're adding another one in the next patch in January. And it is the zones you go into with the leveling system all on their own, kind of like master levels. They're called elemental levels, and it's the path to achieving your relic weapon and armor, which by the end of the expansion is usually the best weapon you can get in the game, and it's quite the achievement to get. You get quite the sense of accomplishment when you complete one. And of course, I'm not going to go without mentioning ultimate raids, the ultimate difficulty raids, which there are 2 in the game right now, which provide the most unique status symbol items in the game, which brings me to the next point. Are you ready for this one? There are things to get that makes other players envy you, jealous, or want to be that way. Remember back in Vanilla WoW when you were standing in Orgrimmar or Stormwind and some guy would run past you wearing full Molten Core gear and you were like,
Holy shit! Oh, fuck!
that guy looks awesome. I want to get that gear. And that then forced you to get better at the game. you know, tighten up and fix your rotation, learn the fights and help others around you that did endgame content with you do the same. You know, personal responsibility and self-improvement.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
Well, unique items like that still exist in Final Fantasy XIV, such as Savage Mode raiding gear, relic weapons as I mentioned earlier, and of course the ultimate raid weapons. And those things make you look so cool. They're so unique and make those around you want to get it too. And it shows how good of a player you are if you're able to get certain items in the game and display them for all to see. I mean, imagine that. Not getting handed everything for doing nothing. A novel fucking concept, I know. The next point. Classes are still extremely unique. I mean, guys, nothing will drive you away faster from an MMO than class homogenization. You know, where everyone tells you that you are unique, but in reality you're all the same drone-ass NPC as every other unique snowflake that's out there. Oh god, it makes a game dull and drab, and Activision has gone so far in the direction of bring the player and not the class that they forgot all about class identity and feel. When everyone is special, nobody is. In Final Fantasy XIV, every job in the game feels uniquely different from all the others and has a completely different playstyle. Not to mention the fact that because of the strengths and weaknesses of secondary stats, each job has 2 or 3 viable builds that work for them, such as, for example, being a samurai that focuses on skill, speed, and direct hit versus one that focuses on critical hit and direct hit and not at all on skill speed. Both are viable in endgame and both have completely different playstyles. Step away from the homogenization. You don't have to be the same as everyone around you.
What a bunch of fucking bullshit.
And the next point. You are no longer beholden to time gating. That shitty business practice Activision so loves in order to make their minimal effort in development last as long as it possibly can and seem much deeper than it actually is. In Final Fantasy XIV, when a patch gets released, you can do everything in that patch immediately as long as you meet the level and item level requirements, of course, you know, which is standard for any game. There are no quests or items that are in the actual game, but you can't get or do them because the game itself won't make it available until a certain timetable has been reached. Oh, you can underindulge or overindulge to your heart's fucking content. You're free from the time gates now.
Oh, thank God.
And now, for my final point. Point number 10. Here it is. Final Fantasy XIV is a game, I mentioned this earlier, that is still growing and doesn't have players leaving in droves hand over fist like I said. Square Enix has no need to release a Realm Reborn Classic Edition and require a sub to the current retail version of the game in order to keep its game on life support. In addition, Final Fantasy XIV has one of, if not the most helpful and friendly communities of any MMO on the market. So, if you're coming to Final Fantasy XIV from Battle for Azeroth, help keep it that way, okay? And don't pass the disease that the WoW community seems to be riddled with into this game. You're in a better place now, guys. You can enjoy an MMO again. Be friendly, be helpful, and it's almost always returned in kind in this game.
Hell yeah! This is the... Oh yeah! Ah!
So guys, this has been my quick top 10 things you should know if you're switching from Battle for Azeroth to Final Fantasy XIV. What did you guys think? If you want a lot more detail and a lot more info, there are other videos out there on YouTube. I myself have a new player guide. It's a little dated, but most of it still applies. It was made during this expansion. I have a new player guide, which I will link in the description down below, as well as I will link my entire Final Fantasy XIV versus World of Warcraft series, one of the first video series I ever made, if you want to, you know, waste some time and just listen to things in the background. But anyway, guys, this has been Raziel. Please, if you liked the video, like the video. If you didn't like the video, well, I don't care. But anyway, guys, follow me on Twitch and Twitter and check me out on my stream. Come have some fun with me. I usually like to get really drunk on my stream and we have a good time. And if you catch me on my Twitch stream, you know, ask me any questions you want. I don't bite hard, I promise. But anyway, guys, it's been Raziel. As always, keep it real, and I'll see you in the next video.